Black man pulled over and humiliated by a female officer because of his dreadlocks and appearance. What happened next will drop your jaw. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and share your views in the comments section. Let's see what you think about this video. What would you do if, in an instant, you went from feeling like you were in control of your life to being stripped of your dignity because of something as simple as the way you look? Imagine driving down the street in broad daylight, minding your own business, when flashing lights appear behind you. Your heart races, but you're calm. You know your rights. You know you've done nothing wrong. So why is that patrol car following you so closely? What could you possibly have done to warrant being pulled over? Is it because of your skin color? Your dreadlocks? Your clothing? This is a question that Jacob Moore, an undercover FBI agent, never thought he'd have to ask himself. But on this day, everything would change, and not in a way he expected. Jacob had been undercover for months, blending in with the streets, doing the gritty work that most people would never want to get close to. Dreadlocks, streetwear, and a beat-up car were all part of his cover. But on this day, as he drove home from a long week, he wasn't on assignment. He was just a man trying to get home to his family. What's going through your mind when you see the flashing lights in your rearview mirror? You feel the officer's suspicion before they even step out of their car. You're guilty until proven innocent. And for what? Being black? Having dreadlocks? Driving through the wrong neighborhood? As Jacob slows his car to a stop, he runs through the scenario in his head. He's not nervous. He's been in worse situations. But something about this feels different. It's not just a regular traffic stop. The air is thick with tension, but he's used to playing it cool. The officer steps out of the patrol car. As she approaches, Jacob notices something unsettling in her posture. Her hand rests on her gun holster. Not out of caution, but as if she's ready to draw at any moment. Her eyes scan his car, lingering a little too long on his hair, his clothes, his skin. Why is she so focused on what he looks like? License and registration, she demands, her voice cold, no explanation offered. Jacob hands her the documents, but even as she takes them, he can see her judgment in the way her eyes harden. She's not seeing a man, she's seeing a stereotype. And worse, she has no idea who she's dealing with. Would it change if she knew? He wonders. Would she treat him differently if she knew he was an undercover agent? Or does the uniform she wears give her the power to see whatever she wants to see? Instead of checking his paperwork and letting him go, the officer lingers, eyeing him with suspicion. She starts with the usual questions. Where's he going? Where's he coming from? But her tone isn't neutral. It's accusatory. Does she really believe he's a criminal, or is she just looking for an excuse to escalate? Her eyes narrow as she stares at his dreadlocks, something about his appearance clearly bothering her. "You been smoking something today?" she asks, her voice sharp. Jacob's patience is wearing thin, but he keeps his cool. "No, officer, I haven't." But she doesn't believe him. Her skepticism turns into something uglier. She smirks, taking a step back as if she's ready to go on the offensive. Mind if I search the car? Would she even be asking this if he didn't look the way he does? Is she trying to humiliate him for the sake of proving her authority? Is this a power trip? Jacob knows his rights. "No, you don't have probable cause to search my car," he says calmly but firmly. Her eyes flare with anger, as though his simple assertion of his rights is a direct challenge to her authority. How dare he push back? Her eyes seem to say. And then, without warning, the officer raises her voice, calling for backup. Why backup? Why now? Jacob hadn't moved. He hadn't threatened her. But in her eyes, his very existence was a threat. Was it the fact that he remained composed despite her attempts to provoke him? Was she waiting for him to snap? As two more squad cars pull up, Jacob knows this is about to get worse. He can feel the eyes of people passing by, staring at the scene unfolding on the side of the road. And suddenly, Jacob isn't just a man pulled over. He's a spectacle. The officer steps closer, now emboldened by the presence of her colleagues. "Step out of the car," she orders, her hand still hovering near her gun. Would she be this aggressive if he didn't have dreadlocks? If he didn't have dark skin? Jacob knows he has to tread carefully. This could go south in a heartbeat. One wrong move, one wrong word, and this could be the last day of his life. But should he have to feel this way? Should any innocent person feel this way? Why is asserting his rights seen as an act of defiance? As Jacob steps out of the car, the officer forces him to the hood of his vehicle, patting him down roughly. How can this be happening? He asks himself. He can feel the weight of her assumptions pressing down on him as heavily as her hands. To her, he's just another black man with dreadlocks, probably a drug dealer, probably a criminal. And yet, standing right in front of her, she has no idea that the man she's degrading works for the very system she's supposed to protect. What would she do if she knew the truth? Would she apologize? Or would she simply find another way to justify her actions? The backup officers stand by, watching as Jacob is humiliated in front of everyone. He can feel the stares from passing cars, from people walking by, some recording the incident on their phones. Do they think he's guilty too? Are they assuming he's a criminal just because of the way he looks? The officer finally finishes her search, coming up empty-handed, of course. She steps back, her face flushed with frustration. She had nothing on him. Nothing to justify the treatment she had just subjected him to. But then, Jacob decides enough is enough. He's been patient, he's been calm. But now, it's time for the truth. "Check my ID again," he says, his voice steady. The officer gives him a puzzled look. She grabs the ID and runs it through her system again. As the results flash across her screen, her expression changes instantly, from smug satisfaction to shock and confusion. Her colleagues step closer, glancing at the screen, then at Jacob. She looks back at him, her mouth slightly open. You're a federal agent?" Jacob stares at her, unblinking. That's right. Now what's going through her mind? Is she thinking about all the assumptions she made? The aggression she displayed? Is she wondering how badly she's messed up? She stammers, trying to explain herself. I didn't know. You didn't." Jacob cuts her off, his voice firm. "You didn't care to know. You didn't ask. You just saw me as a threat because of how I look." Now the tables have turned. The officer, once in complete control, is scrambling to justify her actions. But can she? Is there any real justification for how she treated him? "Look," she starts, but Jacob interrupts again. "What if I wasn't an agent? What if I was just an ordinary black man driving home? What then?" Her face pales. She knows the answer, and so does Jacob. And as she stands there, struggling to find her words, Jacob asks the question that's been burning inside him since the moment she pulled him over. "Why did you really stop me?" Silence. The officer looks away, unable to meet his gaze. Jacob takes a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "You stopped me because of my hair, because of my skin, because you assumed I was a criminal. Am I wrong?" Her silence is all the answer he needs. Now the real question is, what will happen next? Will she face consequences for her actions? Will she learn from this, or will she continue to view men who look like Jacob as threats? And what about Jacob? How will this experience change him? He's faced danger before in his line of work, but this was different. This was personal. What if it were you in Jacob's shoes? Would you stay calm? Would you demand justice? Or would you feel the sting of helplessness as the world watched you be treated like less than human? In a world where appearances still dictate how people are treated, what can we do to break the cycle?
If you've watched this far, comment which country you're watching from and leave a 100 in the comment section because you are type of person that likes to finish what they started. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to get notified whenever we drop new videos.